Rank Sounds. Julian on the traditional version. But yeah, mono, blue Tron on Robert Wright side. So if you don't know the deck, and I have to admit I always feel like I know it and then I see it and I don't. His big threats, he has 8 different one-ofs in the creature spot. But the large ones are Platinum Angel, Sundering Titan, Wormcoil, Walking Ballista, and then he has 2 Mindslavers and Cyclonic Rift and Ugin and an O-Stone as his ramp cards.
If he's able to use some counter spells to get into the late game, which I can't stress enough is an unsuccessful plan for the blue counterspell decks in the format, then he has a fighting chance. The fear is that Julian just runs out there, Tron piece, Tron piece, Tron piece, turn 3 Karn, turn 4 Karn. You know, that stuff just wins the game.
Robert, so he has 3 Remand and 4 Condescend as his counter magics.
They should serve to buy some time.
Yeah, you expect with 7 counter spells, you expect 1 per game is pretty likely, maybe even 2. But he needs to then, so he needs to counter the first and then turn the corner. His threats are actually slower than Julian's.
Yes. The other issue with Mono Blue Tron is it has lower access to Tron pieces. You don't get Ancient Stirrings, you don't get Sylvan Scrying.
It's just map.
Speaking of map, Julian has one.
Yeah, Expedition map off Urza's Tower. Robert makes his own Urza's Tower. Julian. Ghost Quarter.
That's a good one in Tron
Yeah,
Mirrors.
that's fine. Especially against Robert's deck, which is less redundant. He's going to make Urza's Power Plant and Chalice of the Void on 1.
That's pretty good against Green Tron.
Yeah, it's best when he's on the play. See if Julian uses that map to go get an Urza's Mine of his own.
He's going to turn off any of those stars and spheres, Ancient Stirrings.
We'll see if Julian's going to pull the trigger on this Ghost Quarter. Robert does have Natural Tron in his hand. I spied the mine there. So Chromatic Star from Julian. Robert remembers the Chalice, gets it countered.
That's smart.
You got to test their opponent on it.
Yeah, the card's not doing anything if you're not casting it.
Julian says go, so Robert will get to make Tron. Now his deck's not as dominant. He's not going to just slam a Karn here. During draw step, it looks like it's going to get Ghost Quartered. The tower will.
And the idea is maybe Robert has drawn all of his basics. There are 6, there's 4 islands and 2 snow-covered islands for the blue Tron deck.
So he'll get one of the snow-covered ones.
Once you see the Chalice of the Void, that lets you know something weird's going on.
Tron doesn't main deck that card, yeah. And now, he had to show it's an island, and now Julian should know the score.
Right.
There are no traditional Tron variants that play an island, certain of any kind.
Yeah, there's been a lot of green splash a second color Tron, but it was never blue.
So Urza's Mine, so he's missing that tower. And Robert passes. He has Supreme Will, actually his 8th counterspell, left up in his hand.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, don't mind it at all. You see on Julian's side, he'll make Walking Ballista on 1. Passes no land. His hand is just full of bigs. Ugin, Ulamog, I believe Wormcoil as well.
Yeah, this mulligan really not shaping up very well for him.
Thirst for Knowledge, cast for Robert. No artifact discard. He discards 2 lands. And he draws in. There is an Urza's Tower, so he'll make Oblivion Stone. And this should go the way of the mono blue players. He's turning the corner pretty hard now.
Assembling Tron first, huge. It doesn't matter about any color disparity or differences here.
Julian going to try another 1 mana card. Runs it into the Chalice of the Void. Robert will now, this is a show of strength, cast Supreme Will to look at top cards.
I just want to find a Haymaker. If he keeps making land drops, he'll be inching ever closer to Mindslaver locking Julian.
Another tower from Robert Wright. Gives him access to 11 mana. Here's Mindslaver. He can both play and crack it. It's not that... You can't do that much damage. I mean, Julian probably should have shot Robert with the Ballista first, but I mean, who cares?
Right, left a point on the table. That's really not what the game's about.
Looking at Julian's hand. Wormcoil, Karn, Ugin, Ulamog. Okay. Urza's Tower. So...
Redundant tower, still no Tron.
I mean, Robert... Yep, he'll make Julian shoot himself with a Ballista, and then probably just shift the turn.
Yep. Really nothing else you can do there.
Now, there is 1 Academy Ruins in Robert's deck. When he finds it, he'll have Mindslaver lock. However, he can't really Expedition map for it because he made a Chalice of the Void.
Can O-stone away his Chalice of the Void.
That's true. He'll play Oboro.
Yeah, and he also has a couple copies of Repeal in hand.
Yeah, so not a problem. Well, you can't repeal.
Is Repeal exactly
it's
X?
No, it's X or less.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can repeal it. I was going to say if it's exactly. And Tron was made for Julian, so he will now try Wormcoil Engine. Robert's going to put a Fate counter on that Chalice. And then maybe you might see a Snapcaster Mage here. Yeah, Snapcaster Mage on Thirst for Knowledge. Robert needs more cards. Mono Bluetron, unlike other variants of Tron, does not close out as quickly. It can lose from here.
Once he finds that Academy Ruins, he's home.
Then he's good.
But he does have to find it.
Yeah.
He gets to buy some time here. But pretty soon, Julian's going to be casting very expensive spells.
Robert discards 2 more. Yeah, I suppose Robert with these repeals can just keep repealing the Wormcoil. It's not terrible. If he needs more time.
Yeah, that's a big mana investment, but he's got it.
Solemn Simulacrum from Robert. We don't see that card much anymore.
Unfortunately, no.
You see it in Commander. It's nice there.
Yeah, a fit in most Commander decks.
Yeah, ramps you. Rampant Growth when it enters the battlefield. You draw a card when it dies. 2/2 for 4.
Very popular cube card as well.
An invitational card.
Yeah, shame on Robert for not using the invitational art, though.
Yeah, Jens Thorin.
Don't know how many viewers are familiar with the name.
Another Urza's Tower, and here's Ulamog from Julian. That you can counter it all you like. And he's going to target some Tron pieces, and this is, you know, this to me feels like a weakness of the mono blue deck. If Robert loses from here, and it looks like he could, that's hard.
Yes.
Condescend from Robert. Counters it. He still loses those lands. He scries 2. It's just more lands. Top and bottom, though, so he's found one that he likes.
Some manner of Tron piece, I believe.
I suppose he has to find 2 Tron pieces again. And Wormcoil attacks. Solemn Simulacrum blocks. He'll draw a card. Robert is still likely favored, but it's become interesting.
Yes. If things kind of broke similarly and he was playing a different green variant of Tron, he would have already won the game.
Looks like Tectonic Edge was what he scried at the top. So he's going to Tectonic Edge away the Urza's Power Plant. Knock Julian back down to 3 mana here.
That's a good one.
He'll pass. But, I mean, Julian has put a Wormcoil on the table. And if you know the thing about green Tron is that he's going to find Tron again.
Yes. They always do.
Robert takes the first hit off Wormcoil. It's going to drop him down to 9 to 13. Julian's life total goes up. That's not going to matter here. That's not how Robert is winning.
Right.
Why not? He'll hit back with Snapcaster.
Or is it?
I don't. Just passes.
It's a race.
Robert down to 7. It's got work to do. End step destroys the Oblivion Stone. End step doesn't save him damage as much. Maybe he wants to repeal away those tokens.
Yeah, it looks to be what he's been setting up for.
So he'll unsummon a token, and that's actually not going to work. We're going to pause here. That actually can't work. His own Chalice of the Void hits it. Yeah, that comes back. A little bit of a misstep there by Robert. So it actually is strictly X. There's no way for him to use the repeals that way.
That's rough. Guess he shouldn't have put the fake counter on that Chalice.
Yeah.
It does still have play against Ancient Stirrings, which is one of the better cards in John's decks, but yeah.
And Robert, he has no place. He's going to lose to these Wormcoil Engine tokens. And so game one, and what I think is a shocker here goes to Julian John.
Yeah, that comeback there. On paper, I think the matchup does look good for Julian, but the way that game was going, it looked like one that Robert was going to be able to convert on.
Julian got Mindslavered. Robert had 7 cards. I mean, yeah, Robert's got to be able to find a way, I guess, to get to that Academy Ruins. And so he has to blow up his own Chalice. He has to find an Expedition map. Without that, his other win conditions are pretty sparse, right?
Yeah, he can assemble a Platinum Angel, but Julian's deck has answers to that.
Yeah, that's not going to do anything. All right, well, we will see. Maybe Robert can have a better tact out of the sideboard. Maybe we can close. We'll look at that when we come back after this message.
Go. Go.
So we are back here with game number 2 of the Tron Mirror. Green-black on the hands of Julian John, despite an abysmal start, actually does claw to victory and win against Robert Wright's mono blue. And it was all predicated, really, that Robert, despite having a Chalice for 1, he just couldn't find a way to win. So looking at the sideboard, Robert has 3 Spatial Contortion, 3 Spreading Seas, 2 Dismember, 2 Surgical Extraction. That would be his second Chalice of the Void, a Ghost Quarter, which would be his first. There's not one in the main, a Thought-Knot Seer, and a Wormcoil Engine.
So there's some pretty good tools here. The 3 Spreading Seas and the Ghost Quarter, there's a good at fighting over Tron.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have a Crucible of Worlds, so the Ghost Quarter is just a one-of.
Right. Sometimes you'll see players enact a strategy where you try to get a Tron piece in the graveyard and then surgical extract the Tron piece. Robert's a little bit light on ways to put Tron pieces in the graveyard. He has that Ghost Quarter there and a Tectonic Edge in the main deck.
Sure.
Not sure if we'll see that here, but it might be the kind of Hail Mary you have to throw just because Blue Tron is so far behind on the deck red sheet.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the ways that he can win, you know, it's like, I guess he can Teleria West for Academy Ruins to Mindslaver, Teleria West for Walking Ballista. Closing the game is still going to be difficult even after the sideboard.
Yes.
Now, I do like Thought-Knot Seer. Seems fine.
Fine, I think, is exactly right.
Yeah. On Julian's side, 3 Nature's Claim, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Ravenous Trap, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Thragtusk, a Thought-Knot Seer of his own, and a Ratchet Bomb. So he's got some discard because Robert does play counter spells. And also that Ratchet Bomb if he's worried about Chalice of the Void. At the same time, I could see a Nature's Claim to deal with artifacts. I could see him doing none of this and just sleeving up again.
Yeah, the cards that I like are going to be the Thought-Knot Seer, probably the Thoughtseize. Not because, so like if Robert has those cards, he wants to look at your hand or whatever, he's fighting over multiple haymakers, whereas
yeah, and they have a million.
If Julian just clears out a counterspell, he's more likely to be on pace to cast his haymakers faster. So the discards are more effective on Julian's side.
Yeah, I agree. Thought seizing the threats out of a Tron deck is very hard to do. Thought seizing your opponent's answers away is a much better plan.
Right.
Yeah, I do like that out of it. Robert will be back on the play again here as we players present for the second game. Looks like a mulligan on Robert Wright's side. And one on Julian's side, so 6 on 6. And even then, this is another situation where I actually like the green deck more.
If you look at players with better, right?
It will find Tron faster off the mulligan.
Right. And Robert's deck, the mono blue Tron deck, largely exists so it mulligans less. The hands are on average less powerful,
yeah,
but more of them are technically keepable because you can commit game actions without hitting Tron.
I guess so. So yeah, so ideally he would keep more 7s, but he's worse on 6.
Right. Yeah, the double mulligan definitely benefits Julian here.
And he had natural Tron in his opener last game too.
Yep.
I don't know. This is gonna be. I love big mana control. You know, when I draft cube decks, I like to put Thran Dynamo in my control decks. I want mono blue Tron to be good. It's not. I am not sold yet on what we've seen here.
Well, pretty soon you get to put Jace the Mind Sculpture in your mono blue Tron deck.
That's not that much better.
You can cast it off of only 3 lands once you control 5.
So there's an issue here. Robert has drawn 7 cards again. So this is not drawing extra cards. And I'm going to tell you what I know, and I'm going to stop there because I don't actually judge. Because we are in mulligans, this is an infraction on Robert's side, but it is not a drawing extra cards infraction. And I believe the judge is presenting Robert with options. I believe he may either, the first option is that Julian may look at Robert's hand and take a card, and then Robert may choose whether or not to keep or mulligan the remaining 6. Sounds pretty bad. Sounds pretty bad. He'll probably take, if Robert's the 2-lander, Julian's going to leave him with the worst 6 possible, and then Robert can decide to mull.
Yeah.
Robert has the option to accept that penalty. The other penalty, if he does not want that to happen, what Robert can do is, without showing his hand, he may mulligan to 5.
Rock and a hard place scenario.
Yeah,
but, the penalty used to be, for some things of this nature, a lot worse. But.
Yeah, there was a time where this was drawing extra cards, which could be a game loss. And he has chosen the Thoughtseize line. So Julian will look at Robert's hand. He will choose 1 card, which Robert will shuffle back in. And Julian may write all this down. With the remaining 6 cards, Robert will then choose to keep or mull. Generally, Robert only chooses this option if he knows he's going to keep the hand.
Sure.
He like looks at it and says, Julian's going to take this, and then I'm going to keep. I accept. Mm-hmm. If Julian took a card and then Robert mulliganed, then Robert should never have let this happen. So Island, Tron piece, looks like Spreading Seas was the take, and that's going to be shuffled back in. Robert will represent the deck. So his hand is Island, Tron piece, Academy Ruins, Condescend, Repeal. We got one other artifact thing hiding out there. We'll get a better.
Worm Coil
Engine. Is that Worm Coil? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was probably between Spreading Seas and that lone Tron piece, but Robert's got a long way to go to convert the Tron, and the Spreading Seas could meaningfully interact.
Yeah, I mean, I could, depending on Julian's hand, I could see him taking either of those.
Yeah.
If Julian just has Tron, turn 3 Tron, I mean, yeah, take the Spreading Seas. Tower into Chromatic Sphere for Julian. Thirst for Knowledge, the draw for Robert. He'll make an island. He will cast Repeal, bouncing away that sphere while he has the chance. Could keep Julian off a Sylvan Scrying here as well. So Julian will make Sphere, Power Plant to make a green mana, draw a card. And then says go. Nothing he can spend it on. Academy Ruins for Robert. He passes, hoping to dodge just an Urza's Mine. And Julian draws 1 for the turn.
No such luck.
Nope. That was his pickup. Nice draw.
I believe Robert has picked up a remand. He still has that Condescend.
And they know about it, so okay, see how Julian wants to play around that. He's just going to play a Wormcoil Engine right into it.
Yeah.
That's... When you're on the counterspell side, you're like, hey, this is a really sweet spell to counter. But then you say, he knew I had this and did that. I'm concerned.
Right.
Ghost Quarter for Robert. He's going to use that right away to take Julian off of Tron, but has to decide which piece to hit. During draw step, he'll hit...
Love it. Rolls a d6 to choose at random. Take your power plant. The fates have decided.
That's got to be the right play. There's no
You don't want to psych yourself out and feel like you chose wrong, right?
Like, I'm just going to get tilted if I pick this wrong. That's so good.
And bad news. Bad news.
You picked the wrong Die, you betrayed me.
Fate's on my side, buddy.
That's when Robert, in my situation, I would just say, nothing we could have done about that one. Thragtusk is hit with a remand.
Well, at least it wasn't your fault.
No, the die punt. Robert didn't punt. The D6 punted, okay? Julian, Cass Ancient Stories, gets another Wormcoil. He had the Thragtusk remanded, so he's just putting more big things in his hand.
And, another colorless land for Robert. 2 Tron pieces online now. I think he has Snapcaster Mage, but no second blue source to go for any counter spells.
And here's Ulamog. You could counter it, you could not.
I guess no first blue source in a second.
Robert's just going to concede. And game and match go to Julian John on green-black Tron.
You know, there are certainly people that register this deck, but there's a reason you see green Tron way more often than blue Tron.